Jim Delany has been at the forefront of change during his 21 years as commissioner of the Big Ten. The conference's decision to add Penn State as an 11th school in 1990 set off an explosion that dramatically altered the face of college sports. Now all eyes are on Delany and the Big Ten, again, as it weighs the possibility of expanding.
It was the right time to take a look at it. Some of our coaches have spoken about expansion from their sports perspective. We're in a quiet phase where we're studying the opportunities that might be there. We're not presumptuous enough to believe that an institution, is not happy where they are. That we don't know that. But it is a good time to look at it and determine whether or not there are institutions that we might approach. And if that happens on any sort of formal basis, we'll try to communicate with conferences that those members are a member of, because there are downstream consequences, both intended and unintended, and we made a decision ourselves that we thought that a little bit of transparency about this would be a good thing, so that we could answer the questions honestly about the fact that we were looking at it. Beyond that, I don't expect you'll see much of it on C-SPAN.
A big part of it's going to be a right fit. I mean, the right fit of school has to be there, right?
I think there has to be an academic and cultural fit. I think that there needs to be added value, to be honest with you. We're not seeking new membership to make the pie smaller. We're adding new membership to see if we can make the pie larger. We pay our own way. We have 8,500 athletes competing in over 270 sports. So when you have economic challenges and you have changes in the economy, you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can do to position your institutions and the group as a whole to be successful going forward, and that's why we would look at something like expansion.
And you talk about being economically viable. Why has it been important for the conference to continue to look to change, to innovate, to kind of go away from the blueprint, so to speak, and maybe do things a little differently?
Well, part of that is we've had more than our fair share of history, success, and tradition. However, history, success, and tradition can be a friend, but it can also be unfriendly, in the sense, you tend to look backwards rather than forward. So we've always tried to make sure that the concept of innovation was woven into the fabric of how we operate. And so that means, trying to avoid the bumps in the road and take advantage of the opportunities. Keep an eye on what we do well, keep an eye on what others do well, and keep an eye, especially in the media area, technology, and other trends that affect the culture more broadly, to keep those into perspective, to think about them, and to make changes where necessary.
Looking back, the last time you guys did expand, Penn State was a school where all the pieces fit. I mean, right. It was an ideal situation, wouldn't you say?
Well, I would say on the merits it was an ideal situation. Probably on the governance side and how we made the decision, we probably could have done better, but I was a new commissioner. There hadn't been a whole lot of expansion done around the country, but I think that on the merits it was probably as good an addition when you look at academics and athletics and geography and market impact. To expand is a good concept, but to expand successfully is dependent upon attracting institutions that not only fit, but make economic sense.
When the big Penn State thing happened, were you surprised that it triggered this seismic shift in conferences? And are you sensitive that it could happen again if you guys do something?
Yeah, I'm sensitive to that. I had always taken a little bit of umbrage and exception to the idea that we started expansion. While we did in a certain way, in other ways we did not. But with the deregulation of college football, that really opened the floodgates for institutions and conferences to become far more active in the marketing. The marketing of the media was so much tied into geographic markets and also the kind of quality of teams in football and basketball that you had. And we're not going to act unless it's in our self-interest to act. If we do act, I hope we can do it in the most responsible way under the circumstances.